what we're going to be talking about now, same outfit, can you tell, is like 2 seconds later after I recorded the last one, and you probably think that it's a different day, but it's not. I mean, obviously I don't think it's a different day, but I think I mentioned it in the last one. I don't know if I'll leave it in or if I did, but that's the other thing. I'm really going to not like edit these much, even though I like could blab on about things. I feel like it's meant to be a conversation, and because it's just me, I think if I keep cutting it out, it's going to be like, what is this girl on about? But if it's a conversation, I'm like involving all of you guys, then it will feel like you're here with me, hopefully. I also am going to try and talk a bit slower because I know I can talk a bit fast. So bear with me. We're here doing this together. So I want you guys to have a think, because I was watching this series on Netflix. It's called Inside Your Mind or Understanding Your Mind, something like that. I probably should have looked that up. It was a topic, it was on focus. And it was talking about how, you know, there's so many books out there and podcasts. There's so many people talking about the importance of improving your focus, which I 100% agree with. And, you know, in this day and age, there's so many things that are taking away from our focus. Like our phones, you know, it's constantly like, whether it's notifications or the opportunity to just scroll on TikTok. And it's not to say that Instagram and TikTok can't be a beneficial platform to learn, but at the same time, it is a massive distraction. Even email. And they were talking about how when email first came about, it was like awesome. Businesses started implementing it, meant that people could like get, instead of using the fax machine, they were able to get information, ask questions so much faster. However, it turned into this massive thing where it took away from people's focus on their work, because they were constantly checking their emails and all of that stuff. And I was watching it, and I was, me being such smart ass, I was like, took a note down. I was like, oh yeah, I reckon in a business, maybe you could like time block, so that then you just give people half an hour every couple hours to check their emails. Literally, I pressed play again, and then 2 minutes later, they were like, so this is what people suggest, to time block emails. I was like, okay, I'm just like every other person in the world. Very humbling. They went into how some people have said in the past few years that humans now have the attention span of a goldfish. And then they were going into the research, and they were saying that realistically, our attention spans haven't actually changed. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, we will never know. But from what they understand, our attention spans haven't actually changed. It's more of all of the ways that we can distract ourselves. So going into me not even wanting to do this video, you know, like it was something that I really wanted to do, but I was constantly, I'd come home and I'd just go read a book, I'd go to the beach, whatever it was, I'd see a friend. I wouldn't sit down and just record it. And they were coming back to this idea that it's not about improving your focus. It's pretty much, you have to actually understand what it is you want to do. I'm just going to use me as an example. Right now, I really wanted to film this video or film videos because I wanted to start making content. I wanted to start building this community. That was like the number one thing I wanted to do, but I couldn't get myself to do it. So the first thing is understanding what it is you actually want to focus on. And that takes time. You know, it takes time to kind of be like, okay, what am I distracting myself from? Once you have what it is you actually know that you want to focus on, it's then figuring out why you're not doing it. Because at the end of the day, distraction is just like avoiding anxiety, if that makes sense. So for me, like I will just scroll on TikTok. That's right now, like I think we'll go into eating disorders and that sort of thing. And for a long time, that was my distraction. So the things that I knew I wanted to do that were causing me anxiety because I was kind of like, didn't know how to start them, or it was like overwhelming to start, I would then numb that or distract myself by the eating disorder, or now it's like TikTok or whatever your way of coping is. And so the idea of focus isn't figuring out all these tips and hacks and tricks to trick your brain into being more focused. It's not about that. From what I understand now, it's actually understanding what it is you want to focus on, figuring out why you're distracting yourself, and then kind of building a bit of a plan to just get it done, you know, like, and it makes sense because our brains, they just want to be like comfortable, they want to be safe. So as soon as you feel a bit of anxiety, you feel a bit of like uncomfortable, and you know those feelings of like sort of butterflies and a bit overwhelming and foggy brain, and you're just like, no, I can't do this. Fear of failure might creep in, like whatever it is, you then just avoid, you know, and you go off and you do like other things, maybe it's cleaning the house, whatever it is. And you kind of tell yourself, oh, I'm not focused, I need to time block my time. But at the end of the day, I do kind of agree with the idea that maybe focus isn't about using all the like hacks. It's actually understanding that you're avoiding a feeling. You know, like when you can't focus, it's when you're trying to avoid a feeling of discomfort, which I thought was quite quite interesting. And like, this is where I want you guys to tell me, like, does that make sense to you? What are things that you do that, yeah, like have a second and think about something that you've been wanting to do. Maybe you could tell yourself that there's nothing, but I feel like everyone's sort of got something that they want to do, no matter how big or small it is. Have a think of something that you've been wanting to do, whether it's go for a run or whatever it is. And then you find yourself kind of like going off and doing other things, not staying focused, when in reality it could be that you're actually avoiding a feeling that then is leading you to not be focused. So that's sort of what I want this episode to be about, trying to work out what it is you actually want to focus on, and then potentially what you're avoiding. You know, like what distractions, what feelings are you having that's like causing you to avoid the things you want to focus on. And it was really interesting, they did like a little segment. I'm sure like people have seen this, because I remember seeing it in like psych in school, and it would be like, count how many times the guy jumps on a trampoline, or count how many times the guy bounces the basketball. And then it goes, okay, did you count 10? And then you're like, yeah, like I counted 10, I got it right. And then they're like, did you see the gorilla? And you sit there and you're like, shit, no, I didn't. And it just shows that like at the end of the day, you're like, when you're so focused on something, you don't see the big picture. And one question that I had at the end of the episode, I was like, so are we like wanting to see the big picture, or do we want to have like this strong focus on one thing? It was interesting, they were talking about Ritalin in the episode, and they had a woman on, and she was saying that when she was writing a book, she started taking Ritalin to try and improve her focus. And when she submitted the book to the editor, they were like, this is garbage, because she was so zoned into like writing that even though she got it done really fast, she wasn't able to sort of take in the environment and like write her story like creatively. And like sometimes you don't, or at least this is what I've kind of got from it, sometimes you don't want to be so pinpoint focused on one thing. You kind of want to be open to seeing the other things that are going on, so you can kind of implement that into whatever you're doing. So for example, let's say I was like, I really want to make this video. If I was just like so focused on just doing the video, I wouldn't have, when I distract myself, I usually write about things or I listen to things. If I'd been like, no, I've got to make this video, I've got to do it, and that would have been 2 days ago, I wouldn't have listened to that episode. I wouldn't have actually given myself the opportunity. Yes, it was a distraction, but sometimes good things come from not being 100% focused. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking. So let me know what you guys think about that. Do you think that it's good to be 100% focused on one thing, or is it sometimes good to get a bit distracted, depending on what the distraction is? Let me know what you think, because I mean, I don't know. But the next thing that I want to talk about that I think kind of like interlinks with that is integrity and discipline. So integrity to me is sort of doing things that align with your morals and values. And I have a really, I think I should share it. I think it'd be cool, because then you guys should do it too, if you want. But so I was listening to this podcast, and I don't remember what it was. I'll try and find it and I'll put it on the Instagram. I know that's so annoying. But basically, it could have been Lewis Howes. I'm not sure. But he had this guy on, and the man was quite successful, and he was talking about how he has his 4 core values, and he's given them an acronym, and he kind of, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. But then I kind of sat down and I was like, okay, what are my values? You know, what do I really want to stand for and try and live my life by? Because I think that's actually made quite a difference, because when I am faced with the situation, I'm not sure what to do. And obviously it takes time to kind of like apply the values into your life and live by them. But these are mine, and this is kind of fun. I recommend you doing it. So I have 4 core values. The first one was faith. I'm not religious, like I'm not religious. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you can't be religious. Be whatever you want. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily religious. I've kind of gotten into spirituality in a sense. Like I like to think that, you know, you're somewhat guided. Spirituality is sort of understanding that there's like something bigger than you. That like at the end of the day, I'm not doing this podcast to help myself. It's kind of like I'm doing this because it feels like so right, and I feel like I want to help other people. Terrible example, but pretty much first one was faith, and faith is my architect. So the way I describe this is that my architect is faith. So pretty much it has built my life, and I know that no matter what I do, as long as I sort of stay true to myself, then I will get to where I'm meant to be, you know? So that's sort of the architect of my life is faith. Just that understanding that it will be all right. There's going to be hurdles, of course. It's going to get difficult. But if I trust myself and I listen to my intuition, maybe we do a podcast on that, which has been a new thing for me as well. Yeah, then like I'll get to where I want to go. Second thing is integrity. And this is sort of links into that again, and which is what I'll dive a bit deeper in today. And integrity is like the engineer. So the engineer it's building my life around the blueprint that Faith or the architect has built, if that makes sense. So it's kind of following it. So if then the engineer follows what the architect has created, then we will be all good. And that's integrity. So if I live my life out of integrity and I'm doing the things that align with my morals, my values, and my like core beliefs, obviously they can shift and change, but as long as I am aligning with them, then I'll be all good. I don't know if this is making sense, but it makes sense to me. So that's all that matters. The third one is gratitude. So gratitude is my builder. So the builder is building the life that I'm living, and it is doing so with love and just appreciation for everything. The gratitude component is pretty much just building that life with appreciation for everything around me, not taking things for granted, and just like taking the time to just be present, you know, because I really, there was a long time and I was not present, and gratitude's been something that, and maybe we'll do a podcast on that as well, but I mean, we definitely will. But yeah, gratitude is a massive part of my life, and that's why, to me, that is the builder, you know. We've got the architect, he's designed it, engineer sort of doing the next step, and then the builder is like building everything with gratitude, you know, appreciation. And then the last one is me, and that's curiosity. So like my house is built, my life is built, whatever you want to say, and I'm just like curious. Like I'm going around that house, I'm going around that life, I'm being like, why is that plant there? Why do people think this? And that kind of comes down to that open mindset of just like wanting to know more, wanting to understand more, not feeling like you know everything. And I think that's a massive part. I think I touched on it in a previous episode on growth mindset, but that's been a really big thing for me. Like and I think it is important. I can't tell anyone what to think, obviously, but I feel like being curious in life is a really important way to go about things, because you're always open to learning more, and that's obviously important. But yeah, so pretty much they're my 4 core values. Faith, which is like just a sort of a knowing, a feeling that I'm on the right path, and that like we're this small, and it's kind of like there's something bigger, there's something better. It's not specific of what it is, but there's something above us. We're just living, you know. I don't know if that's a good way of explaining it. I don't want people to come at me being like, that's wrong, because like there's no right or wrong, you know. So faith, integrity, gratitude, and curiosity. Big C. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Pretty much, I could do a whole chat on that, and I don't know if that explained it very well, but you know what I mean. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I would love to hear what you guys come up with for yourself. So maybe that's like a cool little thing. Pause the video, listen to the whole thing, and then do it. Whatever works for you. But just have to think of what your values are. Give them like a role in your life. It's fun. It's honestly, it's a fun little activity, you know? But going back to that integrity piece. So integrity to me is just living my life in a way that aligns with my core values and beliefs. And for a very long time, I didn't do this. And that's not to say that everything I do is like aligned with my beliefs, but it's obviously a journey, it's a process. But even with my eating disorder, I would say there was a lot of instances that the things that I was partaking in, and like I can go into that in detail, and we can chat about that in another episode when we've all sort of given our own questions and stuff like that, but it wasn't aligned with me, and that led to immense guilt and shame. Because yeah, I feel like guilt to me is like this really heavy, uncomfortable feeling, and like knowing that I haven't acted in a way that aligns with my core values. And shame is like kind of different. It's almost like I feel it's an anxious, really uncomfortable and sad disappointment in myself because I haven't acted in a certain way. I don't know if that kind of like differentiates the two well for you guys, but this is just me personally. When I am not acting out of integrity, I feel such immense guilt. It's just like uncomfortable. It's like itchy. It's just icky. It's, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That's so wrong. And then that shame sort of comes in, and then it's just this hatred and this disappointment of like, why did I do that? Like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing almost. And that's where that common humanity comes into it, because when you are feeling those feelings, it's so deeply personal, or at least to me. I would beat myself up about it and think that I'm the only one that's doing this or whatever it is. And that's why I think understanding that you're not the only one, and that yes, you might not have done the right thing always. We're never going to be able to make 100% the right decision every time, but understanding that other people are going through that and experiencing that feeling, I think can be really beneficial, because shame and guilt literally eat you up inside. Like if you were living a life that is consistently eliciting feelings of like shame and guilt, it's not where you want to be. I feel like it just adds up, and then eventually it becomes comfortable. You kind of sit in that feeling and you just want to, sometimes I don't even want to cry. I just like sit there and I'm just like disgusted in like whatever it is I've done. And I don't know, I want to know whether you guys can relate, and I haven't necessarily felt this in a while, but that feeling of dissatisfaction with self, it's like, it's like debilitating. Those feelings of like guilt and shame, when you do understand it will pass, having that self-compassion that I talked about earlier, understanding that it's part of the journey and that it's okay to feel that way, and not beating yourself up about it, that is like the tiniest step forward. And the more you reassure yourself that yes, maybe you fucked up, or maybe you didn't act in a way that you were hoping for, maybe you fell back into old habits, whatever it is, to take a step back and just be like, okay, this is really, really painful probably. I don't know what you guys or how you experience this, but it can be really painful for me at least. I find the best way to help it sort of pass is just sitting with yourself and being compassionate and understanding that your feelings are not you. Your thoughts, they like are coming in, and like at the end of the day, those feelings are triggered by negative thoughts of I didn't do enough, I'm not good enough, why did I do that? All of that stuff, you know, it's just boom. And when you can kind of separate that and be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, but that's not me. Like, yeah, I fucked up, but like, it's all right. We're gonna be able to move forward. It's not the end of the day, you know? And so going back to integrity, I think that obviously when you do experience guilt and shame, it's usually when you haven't, I don't know what the word is, haven't acted with integrity. Let's just say that. It's breaking that trust with yourself. And that's probably the worst thing you can do for yourself at the end of the day. Like it just, it's like, okay, let's say you're at school or you're at work and a teacher or a boss or a manager, whoever, they say, oh, can you go take out those bins or whatever it is? Can you clean up, or can you run over there and do this? I can't think of anything right now, but like when someone tells you to do something in those environments, you're usually like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. You respect them, you respect your manager, you respect those people, or you are meant to obviously show respect to them. Why don't we show respect to ourselves? That's what it sort of comes down to. It's like, why, when I tell myself that I'm going to do something, why do I then not do it? You know? And that's where I think integrity and discipline, that's what we're going to go into quickly, is like, I think there's a difference between discipline and integrity. Integrity is like acting in a way that aligns with your core values and beliefs, and then discipline is more doing the things that you don't want to do even when it's uncomfortable. So that's, I was using examples of going to the gym and running for integrity, and maybe that's not the best way. Probably acting out of integrity is more like being respectful and being kind, being honest. So that probably relates well to the teacher thing. Like, why are we respecting our teachers and our managers and our parents, but we're not respecting ourselves? When we tell ourselves we're going to do something, why don't we do it? That's more integrity. Discipline is more being like, I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to write that essay, whatever it is, and then we don't do it, and you're breaking that trust with yourself. Integrity is acting in a way that aligns with your core values and beliefs, and that's why it's so important, I think, to sit down with yourself and really get clear on what it is that means the most to you. What is it that like you stand by? And that can change. I think we're so quick to be like, okay, this is what I thought before, so I've got to stay like this. And yes, to a degree, of course, you always want to be honest, and you always want to be a genuine, kind person. They shouldn't change, but some aspects of integrity, I'm sure, probably will, or at least that's what I think right now. Maybe they won't. Discipline, though, it's more doing the things that are aligning with your core values and beliefs. So let's say I really want to be, actually, now that I think about it, they're probably quite different. Like, not different, but integrity is more your core values and beliefs of like being a kind person, being a a trusting person, being a good friend, they're probably more integrity, being like grateful. Whereas discipline is more partaking in activities or partaking in things and doing the things that you've told yourself you want to do. See, I'm thinking on the spot. This is why I want this to be a really open conversation. And it's just speaking our minds. Like, we're not going to always know the answers. And I think I'm hard on myself because I'm like, oh my God, I should know. But I don't know exactly the right way to word this. It's hard to understand exactly what you're going to say and how you should be acting. But I think discipline to me, as it is right now, is when I tell myself I'm going to go for a run, or I tell myself I'm going to make this video, or I tell myself I'm going to keep my room tidy. It's like, why don't we do those things? That's where the discipline comes in. And motivation and discipline obviously are like two, I feel like they interchange a lot, but people tend to say, oh, like I don't have any motivation. And then it's like, yeah, well, you got to be disciplined for it. And that is true, that obviously sometimes we're going to be really motivated to do the things we want to do, but sometimes we're not. And that's where the discipline comes in, of really being able to acknowledge what you truly, truly want. And then understanding that, okay, I know that this is what I think they do align with integrity. I'm sorry guys, like I hope you don't like shut the fuck up. I think it's just a good conversation to have, because let's say you really wanted to start going to the gym, and then you wake up and you really just don't want to go to the gym and you don't go. You're then effectively not respecting yourself, which is probably part of integrity, but it's also just showing yourself that you don't really care, that you're not there for yourself, even though there's a version of you that knows you should be doing something. And this isn't to say if you're burnt out, like don't push yourself, but it's building up the trust and respect within yourself that you're going to make the right decisions and you're going to do the things that you truly, deeply do want and that are going to get you to the places that you want to be. And I think that comes back to understanding again what it is that you do want to do. And that's not saying you've got to know your purpose and all of that. We're going to talk about that in another video. But like getting clear on, actually like we were talking about before with focus, getting clear on what it is you want to do, and then creating a plan to ensure that you are disciplined and you do those things. And another thing that I do want to touch on in that is I feel like I'm very quick to tell myself like, oh, I'm not going to go out this weekend. I'm going to stay home and like, you know, make videos or whatever it is, or I'm going to go to the gym like every single day, or I'm going to do all these things, right? Even though I know deep down it's going to probably get to Saturday and I'm probably going to want to go out and have a drink with my friends, which realistically is fine. But by telling myself, oh, you're not doing that, when I then do it, it breaks that trust and it breaks that respect for myself. And then eventually it's kind of like at the back of your mind, you subconsciously know, even though you say things, you're not going to do it. And that becomes the problem, I think. And like even, you know, back to like the eating disorder things, telling yourself, oh, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do it again. I'm never going to do it again, without putting in steps that are actually going to get you to where you want to be and to actually get progress. That's where I think the issue probably arises. And I know I've kind of gone a bit off integrity, but I think there's ways that integrity is here. It's at the top, your core values. And then the way you're acting, or the way you want to act, or the way you want to go, they're the steps, sort of, right? And in order to keep going up those steps, you have to be disciplined. There we go. Okay. That is good. Okay, so integrity is here. This is where we want to be. Oh my God, if you guys are listening to the podcast, you've got to go find this video. It'll be on a YouTube channel that I haven't made yet, but we'll make it. So this is integrity. These are our core values and beliefs, and these are our steps, right? And this is how we're going to get there. And there's like so many steps, you know, maybe there's like multiple stairwells, and this one is like how to get to being more grateful. And this is how to be more like, oh, but do we want it to be steps? Because like, shouldn't you always be acting out of those? No, you know what? This is the goal. We want to be acting at our highest self with our most perfectly aligned self, right? And that person is super integral. I know that's the wrong word, but then we've got the steps, and that could be, you know, always smiling at people on the street, or you know, eating clean, because then you're going to be in a better mood. Like all these little steps, or going to the gym, waking up early, that's making you feel the best, so then you can become the best, which then aligns with this self. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. I swear, please tell me if I'm just like yapping on and you're kind of like, what the fuck? I hope this is maybe just interesting and like giving you another perspective. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of like leave it there. But I just want to say that if you are listening to this, it's okay to not be disciplined 100% of the time. Like, it's all about just becoming a little bit better. Be a little bit more disciplined, but also start to realize what things you're telling yourself that realistically you're not going to be doing. If you're not going to wake up at 5:30 in the morning every morning, don't be like, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to wake up early, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this and that and that and that, because it's unrealistic and you're just breaking that trust with yourself. Or at least that's what I've done. And so, yeah, have a little think. What things are you guys doing that you know you probably could be doing better? And then what things are you telling yourself to do that are kind of just like breaking that trust? Have a little think. Let me know. Did my voice just break? Oh my God. But yeah, have a little think. Let me know. And I guess I'll see you if I ever post this.